I remember praying in that moment and just saying, God, I don't see a way out. But if there is one, like I need a life raft. I was born and raised in Marietta, Georgia. I live with my parents and I have one older brother. We grew up going to church. It was very much just like a Sunday thing. I knew who Jesus was. I didn't know that I didn't know Jesus until way later in life. I started struggling with anxiety a lot as a really small child. I can remember nights that I would be laying in the bed and all of a sudden just start thinking, oh my gosh, what happens if my parents die? And I can remember my dad just sitting at the edge of my bed while I cried myself to sleep. I really started to place my value in what other people thought of me. And that's just kind of how I grew up. It started really early on with the people pleasing and the perfectionism that just kind of continued to build and snowball as I got older. And is when I started really battling some depression as well. I really kind of built this other person in order to meet the expectations and please those around me and make sure that I wasn't bringing any extra attention to myself. So into college, I had some really low lows, met some new friends, pledged a sorority. On the outside, I was doing all the right things. I was doing all the college things, having fun. I was sinking into really bad habits, and honestly didn't really see anything wrong with it because at that time it was kind of helping me numb everything out, that I wasn't feeling things anymore. And then I met Jamie in college, and we started dating not long after we met, but neither one of us were in a healthy place to be in a relationship. And I don't think either one of us really wanted to be in a relationship, but neither one of us wanted the other person with anybody else. I struggled a lot with anxiety and depression, especially in the beginning of our relationship, and he had no idea. We dated for almost 4 years until we got married, and it was great in the beginning. We were young, we were freshly married, we worked 2 completely different schedules. So when we did see each other, we were going to baseball games and concerts and doing all these fun things, and it was just like an extension of us dating. We didn't have to face like the hard things that the typical newlywed couple has to face. So we always joke that everybody says their first year of marriage is so hard. Like ours was a blast, it was a breeze. The second year is really when we struggled and we started hitting those challenges that the newlyweds typically face. We moved to Savannah about a year after we got married. Jamie's job brought us down here. We were trying to get pregnant, and couldn't, and was told at that time that I'd probably never have kids on my own. But I never kind of let anybody see how bad that bothered me. Like I already felt like this broken person that was not good enough, and then being told, you're a woman, but you'll probably never have kids on your own. We had Wyatt, easy pregnancy, easy delivery. He was a perfect baby. He was so happy. And I slipped into postpartum depression. And that postpartum went undiagnosed and festered until we got pregnant and had our second child. And I slipped even further into postpartum depression after her. And I really struggled really hard with that. And I got so deep into this just despair at that time of my life. It was almost like I'm like stuck in quicksand, like being sucked down into this darkness that I can't get out of. And the more, I tried to fight it, and put on this face, the further down I sunk, and just didn't see a way out. I just didn't know how to fix it, and at that time I didn't see a way to fix it. I began dealing with suicidal thoughts. Got to the point that I did have my suicide planned out. I knew exactly what I was going to do. In those moments of my life, I truly believed that I was doing everybody a favor, that I was in the way, that there's no way that I could be the mother that my kids deserved. I couldn't be the wife that my husband deserved. And then I really was just hurting everybody by simply existing. And I didn't know how to get out of that. I remember sitting out on the front porch and thinking that this was my only way out, and just being so sure in that moment that was it. For some reason, I just prayed and I said, God, I don't see a way out, but if there is one, I really need a hand here. And that very second, my phone rang, and it was my brother. He has no idea to this day, but that phone call allowed me to reel myself back in for the evening and take a deep breath and make it to the next day. A few years after we moved to Savannah, I met a girl at work who invited me to come to a church plant that she was going to. I started going with her in 2018. I was learning so much. That's when I really learned that my whole life I knew of Jesus, but I had no idea who Jesus was. And I knew that I needed Jesus in these battles that I was facing, but I did not know how to access Jesus. I didn't know if I was worthy of Jesus. I was going to Connection. My kids were going to KK and loved it. I met some wonderful people, but on the inside I was still dealing with a lot and really hurting. The next Sunday, I was at church, still struggling, and I remember throughout the whole last worship song, just praying, like, God, I don't feel you. I don't know what to do. And as soon as that song was over, there was a girl sitting in front of me at church, and she immediately turned around and said, I don't know why, but can I pray with you? And I kind of lost it a little bit in that moment. And she probably was so like, I don't know why I did this. As I'm sitting there crying, and she has no idea why. But it was that reassurance that I needed in that moment, that just because I felt far from God didn't mean that God was far from me. And then the next Sunday at church, I ended up at the altar by myself, which I had never done before. And I didn't know what to pray. And I prayed that. I said, God, I have no idea what to pray. I have no idea what to say. The only thing I know is that I can't do this alone. I can't do this anymore. And just feeling 1,000 weights removed at that moment was the craziest feeling. I had heard people talk about their salvation moments before, and been like, okay. But in that moment, just me and God, and feeling that physical release was life-changing. And that truly was the moment that I got saved in that church by myself, with nobody else there with me. Through my salvation, I was able to truly understand what my identity in Christ is, and that it's not in the fickle opinions of others, but that it is an adopted daughter into the kingdom of Christ, and what that means, and the freedom that that gives, and the courage and the boldness that that gives, has changed my life, has changed my marriage. We are in the healthiest season that we have ever seen. We are in the most fun season that we have ever seen, with 3 young kids, and we're still married today because of Christ, and I can confidently say that, and confidently say that I am still here because of Christ, because of the mercy that he showed me in those moments when I was still an enemy of Christ. I will never be able to be quiet about what God has done for me. Now we get to lead a connect group with people that have become friends, and they have become family, and getting to walk with them through life and through their walks with Christ, and see them grow in their relationship with Jesus, and how Jesus is transforming their lives through their faithfulness to him is a gift. I know that I was saved for a purpose, that I was physically plucked from those moments of darkness and brought into the light of Christ for a reason, and that is to tell as many people as I can about his glory and his faithfulness, disciple my kids, so that they see and know and can rest in the faithfulness of God. God literally saved my life. I would not be here, physically or spiritually, if he had not plucked me out of those moments. If I've learned one thing through this, it is that he is enough, regardless of our circumstances, regardless of what we think in the flesh, that he is enough. 2 Corinthians 12:9 tells us that his power is made perfect in our weakness. And that's something that I lean on now when I face anxiety. I feel weak, but that means that his power is perfect in those moments, and that I can be a vessel to show the world his glory, so that those moments are useful and purposeful, and not just painful anymore. And I am super excited to be able to continue to tell my story, and hopefully help others that have faced or are facing the same things learn how Jesus is the way out.